Welcome to A History of Words and Pictures. So I'm pretty proud of how bizarrely eclectic this series is, even if it's barely gotten going. So here's a Bianchi catalog, Bianchi leather. It's kind of a famed leather maker. Look at the work on that, the detail. This is from 1971. I actually only acquired it because I don't say I needed it, but it was useful in researching my book. Here are the men of action on the back. So Bianchi is a famed leather goods maker, started up, I believe, in the 70s. And they made holsters, lots of them. I really love this kind of old school catalog. It almost doesn't matter what it's about. So here's our combination of words and pictures, right? You're trying to sell, trying to get across the message that you need these. And I love the old drawings. And this kind of thing is such a vestige of the pre-internet days to me. You know, back then, and I remember those days, you were just not assaulted with anywhere near the amount of images you are today. So something like this, of course, would be on their website today, but instead they'd put something like this out, and it took a lot of work. And it was going to be a long time before you put out another one, probably another year. So if you were into this kind of thing and you got your hands on one of these, you'd probably thumb through it a lot. And I spent a lot of time doing that as a kid, I definitely recall. There's John Bianchi, who started the company, and it's kind of interesting. You can find a YouTube video, I'll put in a link, of him getting interviewed later in life, and it's really cool. He started just grabbing leather scraps, actual just leftovers outside of some glove factory, and playing around, learning how to make things, and it became his passion and his profession. His business turned out to be quite successful, and as you can tell, it turned into a big police outfitting company too. That was really the main thing here. So for the leather or police or Bianchi aficionados out there, I thought this would be cool. So here's a picture of the workshop in action. And long before the internet, some little blurb of information like this could be really cool. It'd be something you never ran across because you didn't have just a universe of information at your fingertips. So the wet fit process, which I learned about in my research for my book, even though it's not at all about gun holsters, is written about here. It was kind of cool to come across that. And on that note, this is the kind of thing, if I'd run across this catalog when I was a kid, I absolutely would have read this avidly, even though I didn't care about leather. Like, what's the difference between bridle leather, buckskin, cattle leather, belt leather? Just be neat to learn about. So here's a picture, obviously the clip, holding the gun on the inside. And back to the words, you want to choose a cool product name. So, right, this holster here is the Detective Special. Pretty awesome. Kind of makes me think of 70s cop shows, that kind of thing. The Gunfighter, you can see the actual depicted gunfighter on the left. Pistolero, another cool name. I like the Hispanic tinge there. Fast draw Western gun belt, Texan gun belt. So you'll notice that Western kind of tough guy motif throughout the entire thing here. Like so many American boys of his generation, Mr. Bianchi grew up obsessed with the Old West. So that's where this comes from. And lastly, you know, paging through all of this, again, the only reason I bought this is I thought there might be something useful for my research. And there was. This one picture and that one short description. That's emblematic of how difficult it was to accumulate enough data points to write my 80,000 words. But anyway, enough of that. So, the Bianchi 1971 catalog. A cool little vintage piece of gun leather, that is, holster, ephemera.